So is the ECM-W2BT the perfect audio solution for your Sony mirrorless camera bodies? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you tons of samples, and near the end, I'm going to give you my conclusions. What do I think about each sound test so that you get my opinion in the end, which, helps you formulate your own decisions. And most importantly, please use the timestamp links in the description down below in order to do your own A/B comparison test. For example, comparing it from like one setting to another setting. So let's go into my ramblings about this microphone, how I unbox it and stuff like that. And if you get bored about that, make sure you use the timestamp links to skip to the conclusions.
So I've been using the Rode Wireless Go for quite some time. I've had these for a long time, and I found that they were very, very helpful in many situations. However, there were some really big annoyances with these microphones. The first and most obvious one is that when you want to turn them on, you have to long press them. So that to me is a no-go. I really hate having to long press things. This is one of my biggest pet peeves, so I have to hold it down, and it's just, I know that sounds really trivial, but it's extremely annoying, and especially if you want to work fast and just make sure that it's on, and you want to feel that switch, like turn it on and off, you want a mechanical switch. The other annoyance is the fact that I have to plug it in all the time into my Sony camera, and worst of all, I have to set the gain levels. And that to me is very stressful, especially if you just want to do run and gun. The issue with the Rode Wireless Go is every time you want to set the gain level, it's kind of like a random bag. First of all, you can set the gain on this multiple times. So you can set the gain here, obviously on the actual device. And then you also have to worry about setting the appropriate gain levels on your camera. And that can be very annoying, especially if you switch between different modes. Let's say you want to use the onboard microphone for your camera, and then maybe switch between different mics. It's just every time you have to calibrate and make sure that you're not clipping. Here comes the solution. I want to be using this Sony lavalier mic, which is called the ECM-W2BT. And this has a lot of promise for me because I can just plug it into the hot shoe of my Sony FX30 or my Sony A7C, or even on my Sony ZV-1, which I'm filming with right now. Apparently it's compatible at a limited capacity. You have to switch it to analog and charge both the transmitter and the receiver. Obviously with the FX30, you have the hot shoe mount, therefore you can just plug it in. And by the way, this entire first shot is being filmed with the shotgun mic, the Sony shotgun mic, the ECM-B10, which is a pretty expensive shotgun mic. One of the issues with that shotgun mic is that I'm shooting in a very untreated room, so there's a lot of reverberations, a lot of reflections, everything is just bouncing across the walls, and it doesn't sound so good. So when you have something closer to the sound source, which is your mouth, like this lapel mic, it's going to sound perhaps a little bit better. So we'll compare it with this, and we'll compare it with the Rode Wireless Go. So the sound that comes out of this Rode Wireless Go is going to be more or less the same as the second generation, the Rode Wireless Go number 2. Oh, and another quick thing I want to mention about the windscreen for the Rode Wireless Go, at least the first edition, I know they fixed it in the second edition, is that this thing is completely unreliable. If you try to put it on, first of all, it's really difficult to put on. Now it's on, but it can just easily fall off and you lose it. And the package only comes with 2 of those wind muffs, so if you lose them, you're pretty much dead and you can't basically use it outdoors. This to me, it served me well, but the annoyance, all the form factor, the usage, having to turn it on, set the levels, the bad windscreen, I just didn't really want to use it that much. So hopefully this Sony microphone will change that. So immediately the windscreen is going to be far, far better because it actually plugs into the 3.5mm jack. So that means that it's very secured in place. It's not going to fall out. And this is to me quite a game changer. So we get some instruction manuals. We unfortunately get micro USB, which is awful in today's day. This was released in 2021 now. Ancient technology or not, in today's standards in 2023. One of the reasons why I actually held off buying this was that I would think they would come out with a second generation that would sound better, maybe have less noise. I've heard that this has a lot of, the noise floor level is pretty high. But I think they would have come out with a USB-C, but who knows. Okay, we get our 3.5mm jack and the actual shotgun mic. Oh, and by the way, I bought this with my own cash. I bought this off Kijiji, which is a Toronto a Facebook marketplace, for $150. So I think it's a good price. We'll find out. Okay, so immediately right off the bat, this is a lot more bulkier than the Rode Wireless Go, which is a little bit unfortunate. Let's see what the weight difference is between these two mics. So we'll have to include the wire because obviously that's part of the kit. You can't use it without the wire. So how do you remove that? Cool. So one of my main concerns with this type of Sony mic is the fact that it's rather big. As you can see, it's pretty tall, but I've noticed immediately, like, it feels a bit lighter, which is really, really nice. because the issue with the Rode Wireless Go is that every time I clipped it on, I hate wearing lapel mics, it would start to fall or like get muffled into my shirt and then completely ruin the shot. So hopefully this is a little bit better. Maybe it's a little bit more balanced. Yeah, I think it's a little bit more balanced. I feel like this is less likely to fall in and like kind of mess up your shot. So let's include the windscreen on. Obviously this is going to be a lot more secure. Yeah, that's not going to fall out. Like it's not going to fall out at all. Whereas with this, you try to put it on, it's completely going to fall out. You just bump into something and gone. 31 grams. Okay, 27 grams. So that's quite a difference, maybe a very small percentage difference. I mean, anything helps because the lighter this is, the better. It's going to help it be more stable when you mount it on your actual chest. So let's do it with the windscreens. So it barely added any weight for the Rode Wireless Go. We're at 32 grams. Now let's do it with this one. 32 grams, so more or less the same. It's pretty much the same with the windscreen. Obviously, this is a little bit more robust. Okay, so the switches themselves, like, let's try it out. So the actual transmitter feels nice and light, by the way. I like that. Oh, it has a micro USB. You need to charge it up. Obviously, if you're going to be pairing this with a Sony ZV-1 and it's using micro USB, like I said before, unfortunate. You got your attenuation. This is very similar to the ECM-B10 shotgun mic, and this means that it's pretty much auto, so you don't have to change the gains, and I think that's a positive. However, this is a very hot mic, unfortunately, so you will need to set the attenuation to probably the highest, so 20 dB. It's kind of opposite to what you think. 20 dB actually reduces the decibel by 20 dB. If you put it at 0, it's going to be really, really loud and probably clip. You probably only want to use 0 dB if the microphone is really far away and you're doing, like, let's say, an interview situation. So let's put it to 20 dB. So you have 3 different modes. You can mix it between the two. This actually has a microphone, which is actually very beneficial, something that you don't get on the Rode Wireless Go. So if you mount this on top of your camera and you're operating the camera, you can speak right into the microphone and get that clear audio. So we'll test that out. I'm really excited. A lot of features. I do think it's overpriced. I mean, the price I paid, 150 Canadian dollars, which is about like 100 USD. I think that's maybe worth it. Well, we haven't tested this out. We'll find out. But the retail price is pretty dang expensive. You pay for the convenience, the lack of wires. So let's swap out the mics. Let's put on the Rode Wireless Go and then just do a bunch of samples.
All right, so I just plugged in the ECM-W2BT into the Sony FX30. How does this sound? Testing mic 1, 2, 3. We're at 20 dB. So the nice thing about this is that with this shotgun mic, I have to be relatively close to the camera in order to get some good sound. The further away I am from this shotgun mic, the more the reverberation is gonna happen. So as I slide back, you can still hear me at the same volumes because this is obviously held constant. So I moved the mic position closer to my chest. This hopefully gets more line of sight towards my voice rather than right underneath my neck. So maybe this is gonna sound a little bit clearer. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. All right, so let's switch over to the Rode Wireless Go and see how they compare to this specific microphone. All right, so I just switched to the Rode Wireless Go and I removed the Sony microphone, the lavalier mic. I am still charging it just to make sure that it gets fully charged before I use it more exclusively. And yeah, it was a little bit confusing because when I plugged this into my Sony FX30, it was not being powered. So I don't know if it needs somewhat of a charge. My hope is that I don't need to charge this ever and I can always have like maybe a little bit of battery in it and that it would suck the power from the actual camera rather than being powered by itself. So right now I put the Rode Wireless Go towards my chest so that it has more line of sight of my voice. How does this sound? Testing mic 1, 2, 3. Does it sound better in this position? Please let me know in the comment section down below. Okay, so this is the Rode Wireless Go, testing mic 1, 2, 3. Now I'm gonna switch it over to... So I'm filming on the Sony ZV-1 with the ECM-W2BT wireless lapel mic. And unlike the ECM-B10 shotgun mic, it actually works on this old ZV-1, which is a lot smaller. It's very sad that this doesn't work even in analog mode and I charged it with micro USB. It's just simply not supported through the hot shoe. But the hot shoe on the Sony ZV-1 totally supports this microphone. And just to clarify, you don't need to plug it into the 3.5mm audio jack. It connects directly with the hot shoe. Another caveat is that you'll need to charge both the transmitter and the receiver fully in order to work with it. However, the higher end Sony camera bodies can provide a charge to the receiver. For the record, this mic is set to 20 dB attenuation, and that's because I need the maximum noise reduction as much as possible because this is a very hot mic and I don't want to clip. Let's do a noise floor. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So I'm going to replay that same clip, except I'm going to apply a denoiser to get rid of that background hiss. and let me know if you hear any degradation in the sound quality by applying this audio effect. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Time Bolt is a helpful video editor tool that lets me cut out silences from hours of footage in seconds. Time Bolt is a helpful video editor tool that lets me cut out silences from hours of footage in seconds. Check out my video review of it and the affiliate link in the description of this video. Check out my video review of it and the affiliate link in the description of this video. So right now the Sony wireless microphone is plugged directly into the audio jack of the Sony ZV-1. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Time Bolt is a helpful video editor tool that lets me cut out silences from hours of footage in seconds. Check out my video review of it and the affiliate link in the description. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Time Bolt is a helpful video editor tool that lets me cut out silences from hours of footage in seconds. Check out my video review of it and the affiliate link in the description of this video. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Time Bolt is a helpful video editor tool that lets me cut out silences from hours of footage in seconds. Check out my video review of it and the affiliate link in the description.
So this is an example of me using the rear microphone. I'm speaking right behind it. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
So right now I'm using the Deity D3 plugged in, wired into the Sony ZV-1. So let's do a sound test. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Time Bolt is a helpful video editor tool that lets me cut out silences from hours of footage in seconds. Check out my video review of it and the affiliate link in the description of this video. So right now I have the wireless receiver plugged into my DED, and then it's transmitted over the wire, obviously to the transmitter, so that it goes into the hot shoe of the Sony ZV-1. So essentially that makes this shotgun mic wireless because it's not connected anymore. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Time Bolt is a helpful video editor tool that lets me cut out silences from hours of footage in seconds. Check out my video review of it and affiliate links in the description. So what if I just speak like this? I'm speaking kind of like holding this microphone. Maybe I'm doing interviews. Hey, say something over there. This microphone could be a really nice interview microphone on the streets.
And for just quick reference, I switched back to the Sony shotgun mic. So I'm using neither the lavalier mics from the Rode or Sony. I'm using the ECM-B10 shotgun mic. How does this sound? Testing mic. And right now it has NC. So NC means noise cancellation. It should filter out a lot of the kind of ambient noise that's in this room. Let's switch between the different modes. So now I switch to low cut filter. So this is going to reduce the kind of rumbly bass in my voice, and along with the actual external ambient noise. There is a lot of like just HVAC, the fans are kind of blowing and whatnot. So it does have a lot of rumbly noise. This should help reduce also the echoes, the reverberation. I noticed that the low cut filter is actually quite useful in this type of situation. So how does this sound? It's obviously going to make my voice a little bit more tinny. And for the final test, I've turned off all the digital filters on the Sony ECM shotgun mic. How does this sound? Now this is going to have the full rich volume of my voice. So it's going to pick up more of the bass, the rumbling, the external sounds like the cars outside and the HVAC. And to me, this is the worst, although it does sound the best. And it depends if you want to use it, because if you're indoors in a treated room, obviously you'll opt to use this no filter one if it's very quiet and treated. And if you're outdoors, you probably want to use the other filters, or in a situation where this room is untreated. So how does this sound? Testing mic 1, 2, 3. So let's go to the workstation and see how this all sounds in post-production. And I hope I am pleasantly surprised, or at least that this Sony mic sounds on par with the Rode Wireless Go. The thing with the Rode Wireless Go is that it always sounded very vapory, tinny. It's very hard to describe it. And I'm hoping that this is a little bit better. And hopefully it's even better than the ECM-B10 shotgun mic. We'll find out.
So what do I think about the ECM-W2BT? Well, I've watched all the sound tests I had created. I exported to my tablet, my phone, and I listened to it on my speakers, my high quality speakers, because it's really important to hear what the sound likes in the actual delivery format, which is most likely going to be a tablet or a smartphone. And what I found is that the Rode is slightly tinier, but it has no noise. And I found that the Sony mic was actually sounding a little bit more full. So I kind of like the sound quality. It's slightly better than the Rode. However, there is a lot of noise in this, and you really need to use a denoiser. In terms of the denoiser test where I applied the effect in Adobe Premiere, I didn't see much difference in terms of degradation of the sound quality when I went down to 10%. Now the default Premiere Pro the effect goes at 30%. It's going to sound a little warpy in my opinion. So I don't know what do you guys think? 20% was acceptable, 30% maybe was pushing it, but 10%, I kind of really did eliminate the noise. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think it's really unfortunate this has noise unlike the Rode. And yeah, I think it sucks that you have to do another step in post-production because the noise is very distracting. If you listen to the noise floor, it's just like whoosh, it's like a very strong hiss. So poor electronics in here. And I'm very, very disappointed. I'm going to talk about this in the pros and cons section, but Sony is charging an arm and a leg for this wireless lav mic, and there are a lot better options out there if you're not with Sony cameras. So in terms of the position, unfortunately, you kind of have to put it here. This is the only place, especially if you wear a shirt, but I find that it sounds a little bit better when you place it kind of closer to your chest because it's not being obstructed by your chin. Now, when I held it like kind of like a podcast mic or a microphone and you can like do interview style, to me that sounded really, really good. So I was actually quite impressed with the sound quality. So this would be really cool to go on the streets and to, ask people, what do you do for a living or something? So in terms of the attenuation or the decibel padding, I would say never ever put it at 0 dB. It's gonna clip so much, it's terrible. I don't know why that setting's even there. Even at 10 decibels is still too loud, I think, if you have it near your chest or near your mouth. I think 20 dB is the best, and you can just raise it in post if you have to. So for the 3 possible ways you can connect this receiver into your camera body, whether that be the hot shoe through the digital or the analog, or just simply using the included 3.5mm audio cable into any kind of camera, it doesn't have to be Sony, I found that the sound quality, the noise, and everything sounded pretty much the same. So I don't see really any big benefit if you're plugging this either with the traditional audio jack or using the digital hot shoe. Let me know if you hear any difference between those two. Now, I did throw in the ECM-B10 shotgun mic just for a comparison, and you can see that I'm in a very untreated room. I actually recently bought a carpet, and I'm going to be applying some sound foam to my walls, some acoustic isolation. Hopefully that will help, because this shotgun mic does have a lot of reverberation, even though it's actually performing quite well given how far the distance from the camera and the mic was. It does sound fuller and better with the shotgun mic, but this obviously, sounds more tinny and less full, but it doesn't have that reverberation. So you kind of have to pick your poison. So in conclusion, what do I think about this? Well, the things I do like about it is obviously I like that it has mechanical switches. Now there's a little con to that. I'll talk about it in the con section, but the mechanical switches just make it very, very easy to get going. If you want to turn it on, you just flip it on and you can see the light is on and you can just start shooting. So you don't have to worry about long pressing and making sure that you long press for like 5 seconds. That type of user experience was extremely annoying with the Rode Wireless Go. The last 2 pros that I have to say about this is the fact that obviously it has no wires. So this is a huge benefit. And even on the Sony ZV-1, I was able to use it without wires. I just had to put it in analog mode. So I was very, very happy about that. Now, there's also a con or a counterpoint to this. I'm going to talk about in the con section, and it has to deal with how you have to always mount it in the hot shoe mount. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. And the last pro I wanted to mention about this Sony W2BT is that it sounded slightly better than the Rode Wireless Go. I was satisfied with the kind of more rich sound. It had a little more bass, whereas the Rode Wireless Go always sounded very tinny. So in my pro section, I mentioned that the mechanical switches is a huge benefit. Now, unfortunately, there's still a little bit of a caveat to that. The fact that you have to kind of aim the off switch towards the middle in order to turn it off is really, really difficult. It's actually very, very hard to kind of change whether it's on and off. Now that's on the receiver. On the transmitter, it's very easy to flip the switch from on and off. So that's just kind of really annoying. I really wish it had a dedicated on and off switch because sometimes it's just so hard to get it right in the middle between analog and digital. So let's talk about some of the cons or my dislikes. And the most obvious one is the noise. And this is a very, very noisy mic, has a lot of hiss. And I think it's a shame that they're charging almost $200 for this microphone. And it has this kind of obvious defect. And I've watched many reviews of this and I've watched many samples of it. And if you listen closely, especially if you're listening it with like cheaper speakers, like for example, your smartphone, you can really tell the hiss, especially when you increase the volume. Now, funny enough, when I listen with my AirPods Pro 2nd generation, they do a lot of post-processing, so they remove the noise, so you can't hear it. So it really depends on what listening device you are using, but you're definitely going to hear the noise or the hiss. Now, as I mentioned previously, you can apply a 10% denoiser from Adobe Premiere. I would recommend to apply that to the single track on Adobe Premiere so that you don't have to apply it to every clip and maybe forget to apply it to every clip. Now, the next con with this, and this is a really big one, is for people who use a top handle or a cage with their camera bodies. This is something that I was really disappointed with, and I kind of realized that a little bit too late. When you have this mounted in your hot shoe, whether it's a Sony a7C or the ZV-1 or an FX30, you're going to be very limited in having this mounted plus having a top handle or a cage, because typically the top handle of cages where you place them is near the hot shoe. So it's going to make it very, very hard to choose whether you want to always have a really good audio solution or a cage. And in the case of the lav mic, there's very little clearance. So if you have, for example, like a Tilta cage or a Falcon cage for the FX3 or FX30, and you have that top piece, like, so let's say you don't want this mounted all the time. Okay, sure, you remove it. But then if you have that top piece there, that plate, it's going to be obstructed by this microphone, or the microphone is going to be obstructed by that permanent fixture. Whereas with the ECM-B10 shotgun, there's a lot more clearance, you can see. So you can have some more affordance. You can maybe have a NATO rail near the hot shoe, and it's going to, just make it allow you to have at least some flexibility with your cage if you want to ever remove it and then apply your top handle. So now, because I purchased this in secondhand, I have to make a lot of concessions and not use a cage, which, in some cases for my FX3, which is coming very soon, I'm okay with that because I don't want to add more bulk to my setup. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Now, another major con I had with this mic is when I was using it with my Deity D3 mic, which sounds really good if you put the mic very close to your mouth, and obviously through a wired solution. When I was using the wireless solution, basically when it was connected to this transmitter, it sounded very, very obviously kind of worse. There was a degradation in sound quality. It kind of brought out the tinniness. And then if you click on the timestamp links and do an A/B test between the two sound tests, between the Deity D3 wired versus wireless, it is a night and day difference. The voice, the volume, my voice sounds so much fuller with the wired version. And I'm very upset about this because if I recall correctly, with the Rode Wireless Go, the degradation in sound quality when you plugged in, say, a shotgun mic was not as degraded as this one, if I remember correctly. Unfortunately, I sold my Rode Wireless Go after I kind of confirmed that this was pretty good. I liked it, so I can't test it. Now, this isn't a really big con in the grand scheme of things because I never really use my wired shotgun to a lav solution. I just usually run the 3.5 millimeter extension, auxiliary extension cord, and just bite the bullet there. So another possible con with this microphone is the form factor and how it's shaped and whatnot. It takes up a lot of volume. It is definitely not as thin profiled as the Rode Wireless Go, even though they weigh very similar. And the fact that when you kind of package them into your gear bag like this, it just takes up a lot of volume. With the Rode Wireless Go, they're just so flat and it was so easy to mount. And that's, it's totally understandable because obviously you're going to be mounting it on with this hot shoe. There's going to be a natural bulk to it. So I can't really complain too much about this point, but it's a little bit of a downgrade coming from the Rode Wireless Go, which was so flat and nice and thin and had a really nice form factor. And so for my final con with this microphone is the fact that it's powered or charged by micro USB, and the fact that it does not have a battery level indicator, which is awful because it's going to give me anxiety every time I use this. It's rated for 8 hours, which is quite long, but I don't want to have to charge it all the time because obviously it's very convenient. You have these flappy things, you have to take it out. So it's kind of difficult to take to charge it all the time. Maybe I can remove this. Maybe this is for moisture sealant, so maybe it's actually a positive feature. But anyways, maybe I can pull this out, but I want to break it right now. But having to charge it with micro USB, especially when this came out in 2021 and we're in 2023, it's kind of unfortunate. I have to use these converters. So basically kind of like a converter like that. And I'll leave a link in the description for that. They've saved my life. I've used them all around, especially with the Sony ZV-1. So definitely recommend getting that if you're going to pick up one of these. So according to Sony, when the power charge green light becomes orange, that's when it needs to be charged. And I have no idea what that means. So if it's orange, how many more hours do I have left? Do I have 30 minutes? Do I have an hour? Or do I have basically no battery power? So I kind of wish there was a level indicator for the battery, maybe anywhere from 3 to 4. So maybe in the middle, like, okay, I'm at 50%. That would be really, really nice. And that's one of the things I didn't notice when I was actually buying this was I was trading away a very nice LCD screen on the Rode Wireless Go that would, show if you're clipping and what your battery indicator is. Obviously, this is good because you don't need to set the gain as much. You have more basic functionalities. And as someone who prefers mechanical switches, it's fine, but like they should still involve some kind of battery indicator because, we want to charge this so that we don't come to a shoot and then forget, oh, like I need to charge this now. This receiver does auto turn off if you leave it on in the on position by accident. I think it takes around 5 minutes. So anyways, that's my review for this microphone. I think it's really good. There are some major shortcomings. As you can see, I've enumerated a lot more cons than pros. So let me know what you guys think in the description down below. Is it a lot better than Rode Wireless Go? Can you deal with the noise, the denoiser in Adobe Premiere? I would love to know. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.